Let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're tackling something that is fundamentally changing how we think about digital defense. Seriously, we need to completely shatter that old moat and castle illusion of cybersecurity. We're going to unpack 4 cutting-edge, absolutely critical 2026 threats straight out of the latest hack and DarkWeb intelligence report. And look, forget script kiddies and basic malware. We're talking about systematic takedowns of legacy protocols, the weaponization of artificial intelligence, and totally invisible espionage. It's a fascinating, if kinda terrifying landscape, and we're gonna break it all down together.
Just look at how fast things are moving. In this incredibly compressed timeline from early May to June 2026, it's like a domino effect. We've got the Keelan VPN infiltration, followed rapidly by the Meta AI support breach, then a deeply foundational Linux kernel exploit, and literally, the very next day, an NSO group spear phishing campaign. These back-to-back threats demonstrate a massive, seismic shift in digital warfare. It proves that threat actors are moving incredibly fast across entirely different attack vectors, and the old defenses, well, they just aren't keeping up. We urgently need to rethink our mechanics here.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. The perimeter breach, 2. The core meltdown, 3. Social engineering the machine, and finally, 4. State-sponsored shadows. Let's get into it.
Starting off with Section 1, the perimeter breach, looking specifically at Checkpoint VPN and Keelan ransomware.
We naturally begin at the absolute edge of the network, the enterprise firewall. 9.3, that is the CVSS severity score for this vulnerability, known as CVE 2026-5751. Now in the cyber world, a 9.3 is a blaring, flashing red siren. This is not some minor glitch. It shows just how incredibly dangerous technical debt truly is when an old, deprecated protocol is left running on Fortune 500 security architectures.
So, how exactly does a 9.3 threat actually play out? Well, the attackers, specifically the Keelan ransomware syndicate, found a severe architectural weakness in the deprecated IKV1 protocol. They use a crafted malformed certificate payload. It's basically a fake ID. When the gateway receives this, the logic flaw actually forces the system to skip the entire password verification routine. No way, right? It completely bypasses authentication, allowing the attackers to establish a robust IPsec tunnel directly into corporate networks with absolute zero valid credentials. They just walk right through the front door.
Okay, so once they're in, you need immediate decisive action. Here's the incident response playbook to stop Keelan's lateral movement dead in its tracks. First, sever all access by dropping active IPsec tunnels using IKV1 on UDP ports 500 and 4500. Second, force a global Active Directory password reset to kill their credential dumping efforts. And third, aggressively sweep for Cobalt Strike or AnyDesk beacons using your EDR tools. And hey, why does this matter to you? Well, even if you're an average user, if your personal data is sitting inside a breached enterprise that didn't patch this, it's your data being exfiltrated and held for ransom. Moving right along to Section 2. The core meltdown, featuring the Linux NF tables 1-byte catastrophe.
To really grasp this one, we've got to understand a concept called a container escape. The modern web runs on containers, like Docker, which isolate applications. A container escape happens when a local, unprivileged user completely bypasses those isolation layers to gain root control of the underlying host system. Think of a container as a heavily locked room inside a giant fortress. This bug essentially allows an attacker to casually unlock the door, stroll right out of that locked room, and instantly become the king of the entire fortress.
And here's where it gets truly mind-blowing. One single exclamation mark in the C code. That's it. Actually, scratch that. It's a microscopic bomb. When a network transaction aborts, that incorrectly placed Boolean negation operator causes the kernel to wrongly drop a reference count to 0, prematurely freeing memory. Attackers then use a technique called heap spraying to write malicious code into that newly freed space. When the kernel inevitably checks it again, boom, it executes the attacker's payload with absolute ring 0 authority. One single character brought down the entire container isolation architecture.
All right, pivoting to Section 3, social engineering the machine. Focusing on Meta's AI support breach.
Now we're moving from low-level C code to high-level cognitive attacks, and we see a really stark contrast between traditional security and our AI future. Traditional human support has inherent logical skepticism, right? A human agent can verify a video selfie and isn't easily fooled by a weirdly phrased sentence. But AI support? It processes language contextually, making it deeply susceptible to context override prompt injection. Attackers literally hid instructions in normal-looking text, tricking the gullible AI bot into ignoring its security guardrails and arbitrarily changing account email addresses. The AI literally couldn't tell the difference between a user needing help and a hacker feeding it malicious administrative commands.
And the fallout from that lack of logical skepticism? 20,225. That is how many high-value Instagram accounts were hijacked almost instantaneously. Because the AI responds in real time without hesitation, the attackers were able to automate and scale this attack at a breathtaking pace. It perfectly demonstrates how AI vulnerabilities allow for a scale of attack that manual human efforts simply cannot match.
Here is the big takeaway for you. Traditional SMS-based two-factor authentication is effectively dead. The attackers bypassed the AI so effortlessly that relying on a text message is basically leaving your front door wide open. For proactive defense, you must transition immediately to app-based 2FA, like Google Authenticator, or even better, use hardware security keys like a YubiKey. A prompt-injected AI cannot forge an offline cryptographic token. That physical piece of hardware is absolutely your ultimate shield against automated AI spoofing.
And that brings us to our final section, number 4, State-Sponsored Shadows, looking at NSO Group's WhatsApp spear phishing. Entering this final front, things get super unpredictable. It all comes down to the pure economics of the cyber underground. Look at the top here, an iOS zero-click exploit where the target does absolutely nothing and still gets hacked, costs up to $5 million. It's exorbitantly expensive. But look at the one-click spear phishing. It's only a fraction of the cost, between $100,000 and $500,000. This completely explains why firms like the notorious NSO Group shifted their strategy. I mean, why spend millions breaking the machine silently when you can spend a fraction of that to highly target a human and trick them into clicking just once?
Let's unpack this trap because it's brilliant in a terrifying way. NSO operators register lookalike domains mimicking legitimate news outlets. They send highly contextualized WhatsApp messages to specific targets like journalists or activists with auto-generated link previews. A single click redirects the browser to an NSO server, launching a silent exploit chain. And here is the truly vital takeaway. WhatsApp's end-to-end encryption was never actually broken. It didn't even matter. The encryption protects the data in transit, but the fake news link preview captured the endpoint itself. The spyware just reads the messages directly from the phone's screen and memory before encryption even happens.
So if you're a high-risk target, standard security just won't cut it. Here is your concrete anti-espionage playbook. Step 1. Enable lockdown mode on iOS. This aggressively curtails the device's attack surface by blocking complex web vectors. Step 2. Disable WhatsApp link previews so your phone doesn't automatically ping malicious infrastructure. And Step 3, which is absolutely critical, perform daily device reboots. Modern sophisticated spyware often runs entirely in RAM to avoid detection. A daily hard reboot essentially flushes that memory, forcing fileless malware to drop its persistence. Wow, right? We've covered a lot today, from perimeter logic flaws and one-byte core meltdowns to AI cognitive breaches and human deception. Which brings us to the Takian verdict. I want to leave you with this final, really provocative question. Since hardware firewalls, the deep core code of Linux, trillion-dollar AI models, and fundamental human psychology are all simultaneously vulnerable, how quickly will you adopt zero-trust architecture? The moat and castle are completely gone. Assuming breach is no longer just a buzzword, it is an absolute existential imperative in this hostile digital frontier. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Stay secure out there and keep learning.